This is a story about trials and tribulations and how some of these ended up in one of the most fruitful and transformative periods of my life, filled with lessons that I learned along the way. I hope you can get some value from it, or at least appreciate the journey. Enjoy. It's often said that the brightest lights shine in the darkest moments. One of my own darkest moments came at the turn of 2020. You see, I'd come into the year with so much enthusiasm, fully convinced that this was gonna be that year. And actually, for a good period of time, it was. It genuinely seemed like everything was coming together perfectly. I kicked off the year with university offers, a positive trend in my grades, and some serious progress towards my goals. I was killing it. It couldn't have gotten any better. Then suddenly, as sharply as the rise spiked, it turned. What started as niggling thoughts at the back of my mind, once easily shrugged off, had quickly exploded into a relentless army of intrusive thoughts and paranoia. Almost out of nowhere. This mental turmoil was completely unfamiliar territory for me, and as soon as I clocked what was going on, I knew I had to nip it in the bud. So I resolved to do just that. After doing some research and some deep internal digging to figure out just what the hell was going on, I called in backup. I talked through what had arisen with my mom, and after a lengthy conversation, we were confident that whatever was going on, we would overcome it, and it would be over just as quickly as it had begun. Or so we thought. Chaos struck the world and brought it to a close almost as fast and suddenly as it had infiltrated mine. And as the world shut down, so did I. Perfect. In the face of impending doom, I retreated, and my will to do collapsed. The distance between the days blurred and the moments faded, and before I knew it, I had sat through the last few months of high school in my bedroom, and the next few months in that same bedroom. Now it was August, result season, a time that beckons you to start getting ready for university. Well, for one, I'd barely gotten into my university, but honestly, with everything going on, I really wasn't bothered. I was sure of one thing though, I wasn't ready to go. The world, just like me, barely looked any better than it had been when it entered the month of March. And being unsure how that would translate into a university experience, I just knew everything had to wait. This is a story about my gap year, what it was, how it went, and how I believe I was able to make the most out of it as it turned out to be one of the most fruitful and transformative periods of my life. After deferring my entry to university, I now had an extra 12 months to spare with the task of finding a useful purpose for that time. It felt like I had a blank canvas. This is a premise that I was familiar with and one that I welcomed. Firstly, I defined what I wanted from this period of time. You see, as much as getting a break from formal education was a relief, it also had the potential to be quite dangerous. Left completely idle into my own devices, there were all sorts of traps I could have fallen into that could have exploited that gap. And not wanting to be completely led by the wind, I set some goals. Firstly, I wanted to dive deeper in what was becoming an independent interest in art that had outgrown the classroom. That would involve just giving this whole independent artist thing my best shot. Secondly, well, there wasn't much else. That was as far as the plan went, really. Okay, no, wait, there are a few more. Earned $2,000 from art, bulk to 92 kilograms, some courses, driver's license, build up an investment portfolio, and so on and so forth. But yeah, as far as gap years go, a plan is probably a good idea. It started out great, but it was only going so well. Mentally, I was barely in a better place. I had absolutely no sense of routine and was quite literally living life in vibes. And as great as that may sound, it wasn't working for me. I needed something more, and that's when I decided I needed to find a way to reintroduce some order into my life. And what better way to do that than by getting a job? Luckily, I was able to get an internship at an architectural firm. This was perfect. I was set on studying architecture in university, and I could have used the experience. So the 9-to-5 life it was. But wait, what about the art? Well, couldn't I do both? I didn't drop either, to be honest. My life basically looked like I was doing 9-to-5 shifts during the day and 5-to-9 shifts into the night. I thought I had it, I really did, but I couldn't quite keep that up. So I adjusted my workload slightly and settled for 6-to-8 shifts in the evening instead. Point is, the structure created by having a job was really helpful for the stability and order it brought into my life, and my other goals didn't quite fall as a result. In fact, I think what happened was more evident of Parkinson's law, the notion that work expands to fill the time allotted to it, and vice versa. And that's exactly what happened to me with art and whatever else I had going on. I was able to get more of that done than I otherwise would have if I didn't have something like a job holding me accountable to things like a regular sleeping pattern and routine. Few people, if any, ever talk about how lonely it can feel to opt out of the norm. When taking a gap year, it can almost feel like everyone is leaving you behind. Continuing down the highway of life while you sit there, family stepping on the brakes. Before long, the same friends you finished high school with move on and move out to university to find new challenges, environments, and even people. It's hard not to feel left out. This can be even worse when you consider the stigma that still persists around gap years, with many looking at it as a waste of time, an excuse to be idle, or a sign of failure. But if you're watching this video, I'm sure you know that doesn't have to be the case. To beat the loneliness and the FOMO, I'd highly recommend not only doing your best to keep in touch with the friends that leave, but also putting yourself out there to make new ones. And that's exactly what I did. Wherever you are, there are probably interesting people doing all sorts of interesting things, whether sports, creative, or just for fun. And reaching out to do those things together is a great way to get out of your comfort zone, make some friends, and not feel so alone. Actually, speaking of friends, let's catch up with someone I got to know a lot better and interact closely with during my gap year. KK. So we're here with Kirunda, KK. Yeah, how are you?
Good. How are you?
KK is someone I knew before, but got to know a whole lot better on my gap year while on the Vuca gap year program. A live course he co-founded and launched after his own experience on his gap year in 2019 and 2020.
I took my gap year to focus on swimming. I used to swim for the Kenya national team, and I was trying to make my university team here. So I took the year out. I was training pretty hard, so it was very directed.
What would you say was the biggest obstacle that you had during your gap year and around that time?
Let me say two things. One of them was what to do with my time in between training, and the second part is not having your friends around. It was kind of hard adjusting to kind of being on your own and doing your own thing. So it was tough in that aspect.
Are there any steps that you took towards addressing any of those?
I had a friend who also took a gap year with me, so I reached out to her and said, "Are you feeling the same way?" And she was like, "Yeah." And together we reached out to other friends who were taking gap years, and we formed like a sort of club. We'd meet every so often and just hang out, and that really helped. And actually from that stemmed the gap year program.
The Vuca Gap Year program is a live interactive course that I enrolled in while on my gap year, and honestly, it was one of the best things I could have done. Not only was I able to be connected to other students who are on gap years as well, but the course was also delivered by former gap year students who knew what we were going through and were able to accommodate us accordingly. Again, not only did the course put me in touch with some amazing people, but it also gave me that extra structure and held me accountable to things like attending my classes and even helping me plan my gap year. The course is 6 months long with 5 seasons covering planning your gap year, ownership of yourself, accredited seasons like leadership and financial literacy, and finally, professional development. The lessons are delivered live by a team of facilitators, again, by gap year students, for gap year students. The class is also really flexible, happening twice, on Saturday mornings and Wednesday evenings, so they shouldn't really get in the way of anything else you'd have going on during the week. I know I didn't have any issues participating in the course while doing my internship. So yeah, if you're considering taking a gap year and that sounds interesting to you, I suggest checking out the Vuca Instagram page at Vuca_programs. And actually, the Vuca team have been kind enough to give anyone viewing this video an exclusive discount code. If you DM GAP15 to @Vuca_programs on Instagram, you get 15% off the first season of the Vuca Gap Year program. Once again, that's GAP15 to @Vuca_programs. So check that out. But move fast. The course starts this Saturday, the 28th of August, and the very last time you can enroll for the first season is Friday, the 3rd of September. So hurry up and book your place. Thank you to Vuca for sponsoring this video. Now let's finish with our last point. One thing I realized was that during the gap year, I had a lot of time to think. No longer did I live in constant angst because assignment after assignment was hanging over my head, or was I made constantly aware of the impending doom of exams. For a good time, I could chill, and not just chill, think about the world, about myself, about my place in the world. And that's just one thing I want to emphasize about these breaks. You can look at them as an opportunity to step back and reassess your beliefs, goals, and priorities, even your lifestyle. I told you guys at the start of my gap year I wasn't in the best place mentally. But I am happy to be able to tell you that I'm in a much better place now. Pretty good, to be honest. And as much as I believe the prior points contributed towards that, I also think some intentional work towards preserving and enhancing my mental well-being worked wonders. I found ways to do that through journaling, maintaining routine, spending time with friends and family, through prayer. So yeah, as much as we like to go on about all the things we hope to achieve during a gap year, few things can compare to taking some steps towards taking care of and getting to know yourself. So I'd like to leave you with that. The last year has changed a lot for me. It's the same year that I kicked off what could become an independent art career, building up an art page and website. It's the same year that I got to work full-time for an extended period and experience that side of life amongst other working adults. Same year that I started YouTube. Morning. I'm definitely thankful for the entire experience, and I'm hoping anyone watching and considering taking a gap year can achieve the same, if not more, on theirs. Now I know they're not necessarily for everyone, and to anyone who chose a different path, I do hope that served you well. But this gap year was definitely excellent for me. And honestly, there's a good chance I become a gap year evangelist moving forward. But anyway, I do hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please let me know what you took from it and what you thought about it. Everything in the comments. Also, please don't forget to leave a like. It helps the video get suggested to more people who could enjoy it as well. If you know anyone considering a gap year, tell them to check out this video and also the Vuca gap year program. Links in the description. But with that said, thank you guys for watching the video. Subscribe to see more videos from me, and I'll hopefully see you next time. Bye!